Something like that.
On a Thursday in March, three of us set out in this beautiful Vicem 44 Sport from Shell Harbour in New South Wales to Hobart in Tasmania.
Oh, out into the real world.
Our first destination would be Jervis Bay, a distance of about 40 nautical miles.
17 knots.
After provisioning in Shell Harbour and getting some fuel for the tender, we set off.
20 knots.
Oh, half a dozen before. Oh, there's another one.
Yes, nibbles being prepared. And here we are at Hyams Beach. Whitest sand in the world, don't they say?
We had a full moon, barbecue steaks and red wine, and we're ready to settle in for the night. We awoke to the full moon setting red and set off about 6:30 a.m. to travel 120 nautical miles to Eden. The wind came up on the nose and we battled into chop all the way to Twofold Bay. It was a pretty uneventful 10 hours and a little tiring into the waves. In the welcome protection of the bay, we anchored off the Woodchip Wharf. Peter had some experience with the piers on this wharf.
Yeah. Well, at least we're close to a hospital. I'm ready, Peter. Choke?
Turn off, slow it down.
Nah. Put it in gear and do it. That's got a real man to do. No, they're not as sharp as oysters, are they? Oh, look at that. There they are, those little babies. Oh, there's an oyster there too. Oh, we're going to conquer ourselves. Oh!
Jesus.
There's a bucket of mussels. Meanwhile, back to the piers.
Takes the dogs to work.
Gotta get the whiskers out.
Wow, you seem to have a lot of muscles, Peter, for a man your age.
My muscles.
Peter prepped our dinner while I took the chance for a dip.
Oh, it's a good shot from here. Thank you.
Discovered them on their trip down to Melbourne, so came in.
This is mussels in wine, and we're having mussels on the barbecue. Woohoo! And pizza.
I haven't. I
Really?
don't like little creatures dying for no purpose. So
That's
I
right.
figured
So
I should
we've got to
eat them.
eat them.
Never
None
know.
left. Oh, hang on. There's one.
Hang on. Shoot,
One
I missed
teeny
one.
one.
Oh, God, there's nothing.
Now we're heading into Eden. There's no one at the helm. We're driving.
Oh, no signal.
Lost signal.
Oh, but it worked.
We were headed into the wharf at Eden so that we could pick up some fuel from a diesel supply truck.
Oh, where are we going?
We docked at the working wharf to wait for Panda with the fuel truck and also to do some last minute preparation for the trip across Bass Strait. The Arrogant Frog Rosé
you know,
Pies.
If we cut across the land, it's 202, so we'll reassess when we get out of the I've got a mark.
Heading south to southeasterly 10 to 15 knots in the early afternoon, then decreasing to about 10 knots in the late evening. And the Monday forecast is variable, about 10 knots. Maybe if you like a little bit later after I finish these details, I'll just give you the Gippsland waters forecast that might be interesting to you. Over.
Thank you, Marine Rescue, that'd be appreciated.
so 15 to 20 knots.
We departed Eden at about 4 p.m. in order to overnight across Bass Strait and arrive in Flinders Island at around 2 p.m.
Another yacht. Oh, they're way out.
Night fell and after dinner we started our shifts. The moon was still full from the night before and I was on from about 3 a.m.
That way.
I can see land.
There it is. Just finally.
We spotted land about 11:30 a.m. but we wouldn't make it into Anchorage till about 5.
Going for a burn.
My favourite part. Oh, great. Look at him. He's wrapped himself around there.
Taking his hat off.
Our regular blasts on the throttle were designed to keep the engines in good order, but really were for our own benefit, to relieve the boredom and give us a good run at 20 or so knots.
All good things must end.
Yeah. So depressing every time I have to pull back on that.
We had a surprisingly smooth crossing with glassy seas and no wind. When I did spot what looked like a dark patch of wind, it turned out to be a bait ball being swarmed on by a flock of birds. The fish made ripples in the water, which looked incredibly similar to a wind gust on water. We were approaching Flinders Island, and though there wasn't much in the way of swell, we were about to cross over a very shallow bar.
They're fat. They're not starving, these guys. All I can see is a line of breakers all the way from north to south. And somewhere there's meant to be a gap. And in 10 minutes we're going to turn right straight into those line of breakers.
It was fast running current against waves and not a lot of depth in the water.
Fast running water is fishing fun.
But we got through and we'd crossed Bass Strait.
To your liking, sir.
I need
Wasn't too cold.
Invigorating.
Not too cold. Oh, we might need this.
Woo.
Bingo.
Welcome to Incognito.
This safe anchorage near the settlement of Lady Barron in Flinders Island was just perfect. The weather was gorgeous, the sunset beautiful, and the food, champagne and company made the afternoon one to remember.
That's pretty good, and you've still got plenty of walking space between. And you don't.
Oh, and Dawn didn't disappoint either.
Dawn repairs.
We set off from Lady Barron at Flinders Island to St Helens, departing at 7:30 a.m. to arrive at around 3:15.
And then once we get past the port marker, we poke it that way.
We were headed around Cape Barren Island and through the Banks Strait, past the Bay of Fires to the river entrance to St Helens.
Just follow the markers all the way into the up into the wharf area here.
This is good. It's pretty clear. Way to go.
Yeah. I got big eyes.
Gemfish.
Right, beautiful. Oh, neatly missed everything there. Very nice. Just getting dinner ready, are you?
Yeah.
You getting sick of fish?
Nah,
Eat a lot of fish.
Steak for dinner, I reckon.
Yeah.
Now in St Helens, we were truly in Tasmania. After refueling, we headed out to continue our journey.
That funny little thing. Running along the water like that.
Our next stop, Wineglass Bay for lunch. I've always wanted to go there. Lucy had been there once before, but in shocking conditions. And the weather wasn't going to be kind to us this time. Luckily though, this rugged landscape is beautiful in any conditions. At any rate, I wasn't going to be miserable if we were going to be having pizza and rosé in the comfort of the cabin of the Vicem in the rain at Wineglass Bay.
Peter insisted we had a rosé in Wineglass Bay. And it even looks like we're in Wineglass Bay on this rosé.
It's pretty.
Leaving Wineglass Bay. Oh, we did it.
And because he got such a hard time holding it,
We were heading for Shooter Island and through the channel into Orford.
I'm not sure, you may be able to see all the shacks along the waterfront here.
At about 8 to 10 knots from the west.
due west.
Sure. And Thursday's the same. 8 to 10 knots.
Okay.
West.
That sounds squeezy.
Also in this bay for Orford is Triabunna, known for the hue and pine dinghies that they built beautifully.
There's a giant bloody bird. Came over to have a look.
Woo!
Oh, look, there's a bird's going to eat you.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's not cold.
I haven't even got ice cream head. Yeah.
It won't be cold.
Hey, fella. Hey. What's going on? Woo. Oh, they're pretty.
He's gonna shit.
We left Orford for the fishing village of Denali at around 10:30. Denali has a very precise channel approach, very shallow either side with oyster beds. So you really want to make sure you stick to the channel. The task made more difficult with passing traffic. And also 25 knots of headwind didn't help. So, berthed again on another working wharf, we introduced ourselves to the locals and washed up to go into town.
I'm in Tasmania.
Here they seem to embrace the tiny home concept, possibly because it's easier to heat. We walked the length of the Denison Canal that we were about to traverse and saw the bridge that would open and allow us to get through. We visited the fish market only to find it was closed, so headed back into town for oysters and Riesling. We were beginning to think how tough our life in Lot was when it was time to leave and head on to our next overnight destination.
73, over.
Dennis Canal, Ashanti, copy you, 7-3. We are at the Leeds, over.
Oh yeah, roger that. I can see you there on the camera. You're free to proceed on through and we'll have the bridge open for you, over.
The Denison Canal is just under a kilometre long, or around 2.5 kilometres if you include the dredged channels either end. At low tide it is only 8.5 feet deep, with about 13 feet deep at high tide. We made it through fine and headed off in slow motion towards our overnight stop. A truly beautiful location known as Summers Bay.
Primavera, Pinot Noir.
Summers Bay, spelt with an O, is a beach house destination for Hobartians, which makes them very lucky bastards. The next day saw us headed into Hobart and the end of our journey. Ashanti would find her home in a berth at the Royal Hobart Yacht Club and live happily ever after.